Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the DFO DFS Report. Happy Friday. It is Friday, March the 14th. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we got a nice little 6-game slate to close out the week. Very rarely do we get a slate this size on Friday, so it's a nice looking slate. Should be a fun one as always. Okay, let's go. Just a reminder, if you want to be entered into a free draw to get a $50 gift card to Nation Gear at the end of the show, all you got to do is drop a comment in the live chat during today's show. You'll automatically be entered into the draw. We will randomize the wheel at the end of the show. So all you got to do is comment on the YouTube during the live show, and you are entered to win. So pretty easy. Join the fun. Here we go. 6-game slate tonight, Zach. Let's get into it. The starting goalies are brought to you by dailyfaceoff.com. Surprising. Frederik Andersen projected to get the start as the Carolina Hurricanes alternate goalies basically every game. So it should be Frederik Andersen. They didn't skate this morning, though, so unconfirmed. Peter Mrazek likely to start a second game in a row for the Detroit Red Wings. Ilya Sorokin starts for the New York Islanders, who will host the Edmonton Oilers in the second half of a back-to-back. They will be going with Calvin Pickard tonight. It'll be Connor Hellebuck for the Winnipeg Jets as they host the Dallas Stars, who will be without Rupe Hintz. Tonight it'll be Jake Ottinger between the pipes for the Stars. Dustin Wolf gets another home start for the Flames. Tough matchup tonight for him tonight as he goes up against the Colorado Avalanche, who will roll with Scott Wedgwood between the pipes. Mackenzie Blackwood is ill. Philip Grubauer likely to get the nod for the Seattle Kraken. He was actually really good the other night. I think it was against the Flyers, and he will face Karel Vejmelka for the Utah Hockey Club. And then in the last game of the night, we've got Lukas Dostal likely to start for the Anaheim Ducks, projected to see Juuse Saros for the Nashville Predators. Here we go. This is great here. Comment. Welcome to this. You're in. The show is scheduled for 1:45, so I'd anticipate 9 more minutes from now. Honestly, the fact that we're even live is impressive because the Ducks decided to change their lines up on me like 20 minutes before the show. I had to change the charts all around and get here. So I'm not going to take any slander today. I goated it. Here we go. Let's get tonight's slate. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes hosting the Detroit Red Wings tonight. The implied total for the Hurricanes is 3.7 minus 260 home favorites. 2.3 implied total for the Red Wings. Honestly, might be generous. Let me see if I can pull up my tweet from this afternoon, because the last 7 meetings the Detroit Red Wings have faced the Carolina Hurricanes, they have struggled mightily to get anything going whatsoever. Here is the latest. So they have gone 1-6, averaging 1.14 goals per game and 2.7 goals against per game in their last 7 games against the Hurricanes. So they have been absolutely destroyed by Carolina, and the implied total of 2.3 honestly might be generous. But obviously coming off a massive performance the other night over the Buffalo Sabres, one of the lower implied totals of the night. You're going to see a lot of the Sebastian Aho line going head-to-head with Marco Kasper, Patrick Kane, and Alex DeBrincat, who absolutely smashed on Wednesday. You're going to see a lot of Jordan Staal going head-to-head with the Dylan Larkin line, and then you're going to see a lot of the third lines against third lines, fourth lines against second line. The Kotkaniemi line against Detroit, 3 fourth lines against each other. So obviously not great matchup for the Larkin line tonight going head-to-head with this with the Jordan Staal line. For me, like I feel like I'm basically just crossing them off with that matchup. Like, they don't score against this team to begin with. Just a brutal matchup. I'll probably lean a little bit more towards Detroit too. It won't be reflected in the charts because the sample size is too small. But since putting Kasper with DeBrincat and Kane for the last few games, they've been simply spectacular. Obviously, they just absolutely nuked the slate the other night. So I would roll with them to try to kind of stay hot tonight in a much better matchup against this Aho line. Aho line, really nothing to scoff at, though. Pretty good defensively as well. Still giving up 3.4 goals against per 60. But I really don't have a lot of interest in the Red Wings tonight, just because they have just struggled so much against this team. But Detroit, 2, as I mentioned, 19,000 to full stack. DeBrincat 7,200, Kasper 5,200, and Patrick Kane 6,600. They're drawing literally no ownership at all. I think it's pretty fair, to be honest with you. But if I had to play a Detroit line, that would be the route to go. Obviously, you've got DeBrincat and Kane on that top power play unit. That power play unit grades out number 1 tonight. They're the second best power play unit over the last 10 games. They go up against the 10th ranked PK, but the Hurricanes, one of the more penalized teams on the slate tonight. So I'm not playing a lot of Detroit tonight at all, but I will definitely mix in a little bit of Detroit too, because I think the matchup is okay, and then the power play matchup is obviously good. So, Zach, before we dive into the Hurricanes, are you playing any Detroit tonight?
I think I'm going to get a little bit in there just for the same reasons that you kind of mentioned. I mean, that second line looks like they're red hot. I played exactly one Alex DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, Moritz Seider mini stack on Wednesday. Wish I had a lot more of them, and they ended up being my best lineup of the night. So obviously they went absolutely nuclear. So they're feeling it right now here. It's pronounced nuclear. For any of my Simpsons fans out there that'll get that reference. So I got a little bit of interest here in dabbling into this Detroit side of things. I think for me, the big driving reason is just the power play matchup. Really undisciplined penalty kill, or really undisciplined play for the Carolina Hurricanes here as of late. 3 times shorthanded per game over their last 10. So you take a look at how potent that Detroit power play has been as of late as well. I think there's more than enough reason to sprinkle in a little bit of them here into 20 max, which I'll be playing tonight. Don't think I'll get much more than that. Maybe I'll throw a little Larkin, Raymond, Seider, mini stack into a lineup as well, just to get a little more exposure to that power play. But that's probably going to be the cap of it for me tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if the Red Wings, find a way to score some goals tonight, which, if you take a look at the team trends charts, they have been one of the better offenses in the league in terms of generating scoring chances. Obviously, the goals have been tough to come by as of late, but the offense has been good. The Hurricanes maybe not quite as good defensively lately as they normally are, but if the Red Wings can find a way, this team has seen literally no ownership whatsoever. So they are about as contrarian as you get. And I don't think they're the worst play ever. History tells us that they're the worst play ever. But I think with that limited ownership, I think I'm going to get there a little bit on both of these lines, but I do prefer Detroit too. Just to bring it up, I mentioned how good this line has been together so far. 70 Corsi 4 is obviously strong, but the 3.66 expected goals for per 60, 23 scoring chances for, 8 high danger. They've been, I don't know how that expected goal number is so high, but they've obviously been pretty good together so far, so I'll kind of run it back with them. Okay, on the Carolina side of things, I obviously have a decent amount of interest. It's tough to fall too in love with Peter Mrazek. He looked okay against the Sabres, but the Sabres suck. The Aho line's got the best matchup overall, followed by the Jordan Staal line. The Aho line, really, really good offensive metrics, obviously. And on a smaller sample size, the metrics are just ridiculously good. So that's probably my preferred route to go. You've got Seth Jarvis, Sebastian Aho, and Taylor Hall, if I recall correctly. Jackson Blake, my apologies. Jackson Blake, Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis on that top line. They grade out overall 6th best, 18,200. They are seeing a healthy dose of ownership tonight. Probably was that the 5th highest? Yeah, 5th highest ownership of the night. But if you look at the top 5 in terms of ownership tonight, in the charts, Carolina grades out the best overall. So I feel really good about them and their ownership tonight. I like their ownership a lot better than some of the lines graded above them. We will get to them in a little bit. But yeah, Blake, Aho, Jarvis, really strong numbers together so far. Obviously, I'll get to them. I don't know how much Carolina 3 I'll get into the mix, but they're super cheap. Zach, I know you play Carolina 3 a little bit more than I do. And they've worked, pretty well as of late. The offense has been solid for them. Logan Stankoven down there at $4,400 feels nice. They're not seeing a ton of ownership either, about 7% across the board. So I'll probably mix them in lines where you really need to get cheap. If you're trying to stack with Edmonton power play or something, or Colorado power play, or even just Colorado 1, Winnipeg 1, Edmonton 1. They're super expensive. So if you need to find a cheap salary saving line, I think Carolina 3 is an okay option tonight, but I'll probably be similar to the field here in about 10%, nothing too crazy. Zach, you might be a little bit higher on them.
Yeah, I think I'll be a little higher on Carolina 3. I'm an absolute sucker for the Jordan Staal, Jordan Martinook combo. They're so cheap all the time. They're really easy to mix into your lineups. They usually find a way to get a couple of shots or a couple blocks, or score a couple of goals here or there as well. So I don't mind dabbling into them a little bit here. I'll sprinkle in a little bit of this top line. I'm not sure how confident I feel. I never seem to be able to get the Hurricanes right. It seems like whenever I play them, they absolutely flop. So I'm going to sprinkle them in a little bit tonight and hope for the best, and hope that's not the case here. But I do agree. It looks like this top line is kind of the route to go. Taylor Hall drawing a pretty interesting amount of ownership on that second line as well, 15%, bumped up to that top power play unit. The problem is Carolina's power play is absolutely horrendous. They are going up against a terrible penalty kill.
This is the funniest matchup ever.
Just 32-32. All right. Sounds good. Let's move it along. I don't think I'll be getting there on the power play, and I don't really think I'll be getting to Taylor Hall at that number either.
Yeah, obviously the Red Wings penalty kill is so bad that I think that there's opportunity for the Hurricanes on the power play tonight, but I'll just kind of stack up around the 5v5 lines and then just hope anything they get on the power play is kind of gravy. Just to bring up the numbers here on Carolina, one, and how they've done thus far. Again, not a huge sample size, just 36 or 37 minutes, but they've been really good. 5.04 expected goals for per 60, 51 scoring chances, 24 high danger. So they've been awesome together in a small sample size. Pretty good matchup for them to take advantage of tonight. Let's move on to game number 2. We go from my Detroit Red Wings to your Edmonton Oilers. Unfortunately, my Red Wings are underdogs. Your Oilers are minus 129 road favorites, despite being on the second half of a back-to-back. 3.4 implied totals is tied for the second or third highest of the night. This team is very interesting right now. We talked about them being, I think you described them as dog shit coming out of the break, and then they had a huge win over the Dallas Stars, and then that was kind of it. Back to kind of struggling again. And the matchup here, it doesn't look great for the top 6, but when you take a look at the team trends chart, this is an Islanders team that is struggling defensively. They're really struggling on the PK as well. So I think that this matchup is probably a little bit better than the charts suggest. We did see a healthy amount of Leon Draisaitl skating with Connor McDavid last night. Oilers Nation's Jason Greger is projecting that they're going to go back to kind of how they started with RNH, McDavid, and Hyman on the top line. But there's the possibility that Leon and McDavid get together at some point in this game, as there always is. I probably have more interest in building around those two together than I do building around them separately at this point. Like, it feels like if the Oilers are going to get on the score sheet, it's got to come through one of those two guys right now. And I'm mainly just going to be focused on Leon and Connor. Connor's only $8,800. Where is Leon's line? My goodness. Stand by. Where's Leon's line? Oh, they're there, 25th. He's 8,500. So, like, those price tags are pretty affordable. I might mix in a little bit of Zach Hyman, 6,300. Evan Bouchard, get some power play correlation going there. The power play does grade out 4th best tonight. It's probably, head to head, the best matchup on the entire slate. The only problem is the Oilers don't draw a ton of penalties, and the Islanders are very disciplined. So that's really what limits them. But in the opportunities that they get tonight, it's probably the biggest mismatch on the entire slate. So I really like the Oilers' power play tonight. Hopefully they get a couple opportunities. I'm mainly focused on Connor and Leon, and I'll have a mix of some of these other, members of their line, a little bit of Hyman, maybe a little bit of Jeff Skinner, a little bit of Arvidsson. I really like the Oilers tonight, and they're not drawing a lot of ownership whatsoever. Significantly higher ownership coming in on the Islanders, but we'll save that for a few minutes from now. I want to get your thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, man. My thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, we could go talk for hours about what's going on with this team right now. They don't look great. I think that's the pretty easy way to put it. Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch ripped into the team last night once again here. Sloppy turnovers, sloppy defensive play. It's really costing the team in a lot of ways right now. I think your idea about building around Connor and Leon is kind of the way to go here. I like Leon a little bit more than I like Connor right now. Leon is just on an absolute tear right now. He should be the Hart Trophy winner this season. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. There seems to be a lot of momentum building towards Nathan McKinnon, who's a damn fine player in his own right. But Leon Draisaitl is quite literally dragging this Edmonton Oilers team every single night this season. And he really doesn't have a whole lot of help here these days either. Jeff Skinner, he's been fine this year, but he seems to be anemic playing alongside Draisaitl. Victor Arvidsson does not look like the Victor Arvidsson from years past. So I think for me, the way that I like to build is just the same way that you mentioned it. Connor, Leon, Bouchard, get around that power play. Draisaitl also really correlates well with Darnell Nurse at 5-on-5. Play a ton of 5-on-5 minutes together when Connor and Leon are on separate lines. So I don't mind the idea of a Draisaitl Nurse mini stack as well. Like, that's going to be a pretty low owned one. And Darnell Nurse, like, he's just been an absolute dog this season. 5K right now. He's projected for 9.4 points, 6.7 shots on goal per hour of ice time, 4.9 blocks per hour. You can confidently play Wallman, Bouchard, Nurse and expect them to get at least 3 shots on goal pretty much every single game these days. A lot of low percentage shots from the point for the Oilers these days with these 3 guys firing a lot of those pucks. So that's kind of the way that I'm looking at this Oilers team tonight. I'll probably be over the field here on them just because I don't really love the Islanders matchup here. Like, it feels really weird that the Islanders are like one of the chalkiest teams on the entire slate tonight. I get it. The Oilers have really struggled. Calvin Pickard, let in like 4 goals on 11 shots against the Anaheim Ducks in his last start, which is not a great thing. I don't know, man. I just don't know if I'm sold here on this ownership number that's coming in on the Islanders.
Yeah, before we get to that, I just want to bring up Ilya Sorokin since the break. Literally a complete mixed bag. He's 4-4, split down the middle. He's had some just atrocious performances, but he's had some simply brilliant performances. He has one game where he allowed 5 goals on 11 shots against the Rangers, followed that up with a 38 save game, 974 save percentage. He followed that up with an 862 save percentage and an 885 save percentage, and then went 929, 950 in his next 2 games. You literally have no idea what you're getting from Ilya Sorokin right now. So I'm not that concerned about him from an Oilers perspective. I'll confidently get to the top 2 lines here from the Oilers, mostly Connor and Leon. Let's just take a quick look at the defensive metrics here for the Islanders. Pretty decent the way things are built right now. But the third line giving up 3.4 goals against per 60. The fourth line really struggling. The top line is really their worst defensive line at the moment. But again, when you take a look at the entire team, this is a team that is struggling defensively, really struggling on the PK. I think this is a much better matchup than maybe the chart suggests this evening. Now, on the flip side, we've mentioned it a couple times already, the Islanders are the chalkiest team on the entire slate. And we were talking about it before the show. How is this possible? And we talk about this not new pricing a lot right now, and it's hard to find value, and it's just kind of hard to ignore the Islanders tonight. As bad of a play as they kind of feel like they might be, they're super cheap. Duclair $3,800, Horvat $5,400, Kyle Palmieri $4,900. You can full stack their top line for $14,100. Their second line, Anders Lee $4,400. JG Pajot $3,300, Simon Holmstrom $4,100. You can full stack them for $11,800. So they're just outrageously cheap. They do not grade out all that well in the charts. 9th and 11th best. It's not terrible. The matchup's slightly better for the Horvat line. The power play matchup for them is the worst on the slate. Again, neither team takes a lot of penalties, but their power play is not that good to begin with. So like when you look at the projections for the forwards, I can kind of see why the public is getting there. Bo Horvat projects as the best value forward on the entire slate, projected for 12.16 points at just $5,400. He's projected for nearly 22 minutes. Anders Lee at $4,400. The 6th best forward in terms of value projection. JG Pajot's up there. Simon Holmstrom's up there. Kyle Palmieri's up there. Like, this is a good value spot. And that's kind of the extent of it. There's not really a whole lot that I look at from the Islanders and say, boy, I'm excited to play the New York Islanders tonight. I guess you kind of, mentioned it that, yeah, Calvin Pickard, similar. This is going to sound weird, but similar to Ilya Sorokin, a total mixed bag. He's had some really strong games and then just some horrific stinkers. Like, his last 2 games are a perfect kind of look into the Calvin Pickard experience. He had an unbelievable game. Was it in Carolina, if I remember correctly?
It was.
Yeah, and then so they were like, oh man, he deserves a second straight start. And then he shit his pants. So who knows what you're going to get. So I do think with him getting the start, second half of back-to-back, the Oilers not playing that well, there is opportunity here for this kind of chalk and this value to hit from the Islanders. But like, it does feel mostly like a plug your nose type play. And when it kind of push comes to shove, I don't know how much I'm going to get there, but when you're looking and building and the value just doesn't really seem to be there, what are you really supposed to do? It is worth mentioning Anthony Duclair and Bo Horvat over their last 10 games. Anthony Duclair's on-ice expected goals for per 60 is 4.1. Bo Horvat, 3.8. So they're definitely generating a lot of chances. Simon Holmstrom's up there. Kyle Palmieri, JG Pajot, they all over 3 expected goals for per 60 at 5v5. So they're getting looks. They're super cheap. The matchup's decent enough. I'm going to get there. I don't think I'm going to be able to kind of, match the fuel at 25% Bo Horvat, but I kind of get it. When you look at the slate as a whole, it makes some sense. To me, they're not the best line ever, but it's hard to kind of ignore the value, in my opinion. What is your thoughts here?
Yeah, I agree with you here. I think this is an interesting spot for the Islanders. Like, again, the Oilers, as I mentioned, have not been great this season here, especially as of late. The one thing that's kind of a saving grace for Calvin Pickard is his 1 games for the Oilers this season. He's got wins on 63% of his starts, which is one of the highest marks of any goaltender in the entire league this season. If you eliminate basically anybody who's had over 15 starts this year, that percentage ranks first, second, third, fourth. That's 7th best in the entire NHL. So, he's found ways to secure wins for the Edmonton Oilers. It's been pretty ugly doing so because he's got a negative 5.7 goals saved above expected here, which is just kind of wild for me to see. I'm going to be getting to some of these Islanders here. I think just because they're cheap, because the Edmonton Oilers are, as in the words of Oilers head coach Chris Knoblaw, a fragile team, which is what he's called the Oilers multiple times in the last few weeks. I get why there's so much ownership coming in here just because of the pricing. I just don't think I can get to 17% of the top line and like 15% of the second line. I'm probably more interested in some mini stacks and kind of going that route here with the Islanders. JG Pajot and Anders Lee on that second line. I've got them in a mini stack in our DFO head-to-head today. Bo Horvat, you can play him with Palmieri, is probably the preferred route to go. Anthony Duclair, if you're looking to get a little bit different in terms of the ownership there, I'll probably be around 10-15% on these guys. I don't think I can get to much more than that though.
Just to get back to the comments here for a second. Am I late? This is my comment. You are not late. You have until the end of the show before we pull the name to drop a comment. And then Nick pops in to say comment. Thank you so much for your great insight. I like this one. Put your voodoo on him, Brock. I feel like I do have a way of kind of just talking up chalk and then hopefully destroying them. So we'll see what happens here. It's just, they're so cheap. I don't honestly really know what to do with them. I'm trying to look at like the Islanders last 2 games. They scored 1 against the Ducks, 1 against the Kings. 5 games ago, they were shut out by the Rangers. Like this is a fairly anemic offense. It's kind of bizarre. Do you want a little insight into how anemic? In their last 10 games as a team, who do you think their leading scorer is? Brock Nelson. He plays for the Avalanche. Hasn't even been there for all those games. So JG Pajot actually leads the way with 7 points. Kyle Palmieri 6, Anders Lee 5. So not much there. Moving on, I guess, to game number 3. We got the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. So Liam Bichsel is also out for the Dallas Stars. If you don't know who Liam Bichsel is, he is a rookie defenseman who's been very, very good without, Miro Heiskanen, now no Bichsel. I mean, this is a pretty brutal blue line. Outside of Thomas Harley, Esa Lindell, Cody Cece's been okay for them. That third pair is horrific.
Legend.
Yeah, you've got the, Jets on home ice. We know how good the Jets are on home ice. The matchups here pretty good, slightly better for the second line, but they don't really do a whole lot of hard matching outside of the Adam Lowry line. The other thing, as I mentioned off the top, Rupe Hintz is out for the Dallas Stars tonight, so they're going to go Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnson, Mikko Rantanen on the top line, Jason Robertson, Matthew Shane, Mikhail Granlund on the second line, and then you got Mason Marchment, Maverick Bourque, Evgeny Dadonov on the third line. You get Mikko Rantanen, Matt Duchene, Jason Robertson, Wyatt Johnson, Thomas Harley on the top power play unit without Rupe Hintz. Just stick with the power plays here for a sec because the Dallas Stars power play has been the best in the league, just absolutely scorching hot. The problem is they do run into a pretty good PK tonight, but it's still the second best power play advantage of the night. I typically don't stack against the Winnipeg Jets on home ice with Connor Hellebuyck in the crease, but the Dallas Stars seem somewhat appealing tonight, just given how red hot that power play is. That being said, Dallas won at $17,300, grades out just 13th best on this slate. So, the charts don't necessarily love them. They're not drawing a ton of ownership. Wyatt Johnson's just been scorching hot. He's only $6,400. Mikko Rantanen, just $7K. Like the price feels makes them feel playable, I suppose. That line's got a slightly better matchup than the second line. That would be the line that I'd play from the Dallas side of things. I'm just going to sprinkle them in about probably 5%. I just think that, it's really difficult to ignore what Johnston's done as of late. Obviously going to get more minutes tonight with Hintz out, and Rantanen at 7K just feels ridiculous. So 17,300 for that line, I think is a more than reasonable price. And the power play has just been scorching hot. On the flip side, I really like the Jets tonight. We know how good that top line's been all season, but we actually talked about it a little bit in the DFO DFS Discord. The second line is a line that I've been playing a ton of as of late, and they have been the hotter of the two lines as of late. Ehlers just 5,800. Nemestikov's fine at 34, but then Perfetti down to 3,900. They're seeing just 3% ownership tonight. I don't love this game environment all that much. I'm not going to have a ton of exposure to this game, but Winnipeg 2 definitely feels like one of my favorite value lines yet again. It's just a line that I've gotten to a ton as of late, and I will probably continue to do so this evening. But overall, this game feels like a fairly tight checking, low-scoring game. So I'm going to limit my exposure somewhat. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you here. Just looking at Connor Hellebuck's last 5 starts against the Dallas Stars, all 5 of those games have been under 5.5 goals. So they've been tight games. A 3-1 win for the Dallas Stars, 4-1 win for the Jets, 4-1 for the Stars, 2-0 for the Stars, 3-2 for the Stars. I don't really know if that kind of a game environment is going to get anybody from this game to the top of a GPP for you. I don't hate the idea of sprinkling them in. I think, Jason Robertson's been absolutely tremendous here as of late, 2.7 goals per hour, 11 shots on goal per hour over his last 20 games. He's a point per game in his career with 9 goals in 13 games against the Winnipeg Jets. So that seems like a bit of an interesting play there. So I like the idea of sprinkling in this second line. I'll probably have 5% Dallas 1, 5% Dallas 2 in terms of a full stack. And I don't mind getting there and sprinkling in on this Winnipeg Jets side of thing as well. Tremendous matchup here for this second line. And Nick Ehlers has been just continuing to have a really good year this year. His shooting percentage is down about 5% from his year-long average over his last 20 games right now. So, maybe due for a little bit more goal scoring here to come at some point. 5 goals, 25 points in 28 games, kind of an interesting number there against the Stars in his career. But yeah, I'm going to get there a little bit on this Jets side of things. I think I kind of agree with where the ownership is at, though, for this game right now.
I'm just catching strays here. Low scoring like Toronto, Utah the other day, Brock?
Oh, my Lord. Chat, what is going on today? You guys are spicy.
Spicy on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, it's the game environment, what felt low scoring in that game, and there just was not good goaltending, and the score ended up being 4-3. I imagine there'll be better goaltending tonight with Hellebuck and Ottinger going head to head. But just to bring up the stats on Winnipeg 2 over the last 10 games, 3.32 expected goals for per 60 for Ehlers, 3.07 expected goals for per 60 for Cole Perfetti, compared to Scheifele and Kyle Connor and Velarde at about 2.5. So they've been the much better line as of late. And the matchup's pretty good. The value's pretty good. I'll probably get there a little bit. Somebody else. CC has, this is not it. CC has a Corsi 4 per 60 of 70 and a 3.03 expected goals against per 60. Not exactly great on Dallas. So I say he's been great. I think he's been serviceable. He's helped their depth. I don't know if I said he's great. If I did, I apologize because he's not. Those two were CC and great don't go together all that frequently, but I think he's been serviceable in what they've needed to kind of plug that gap with Heiskanen out. So just getting called out left and right today. Calgary Flames will host the Colorado Avalanche tonight. 2.4 implied total for the Flames, 3.5 implied total for the Avalanche. The Avs, we talk about them all the time. Their underlying metrics, actually, breaking news, their expected goals for per 60 is now under 5.
Wow. I don't know if I can now.
Yeah. Can we play them? Are they playable still? They're still insanely good. It's worth mentioning, though, in their last game against the Minnesota Wild, they did put Nichushkin up on the top line for Marty Necas. And Necas obviously went to the second line with Brock Nelson. It is worth mentioning, though, I messaged one of the beat reporters from the Colorado Avalanche. They said, there's no indication from the morning skate whether or not they'll go back to that or go back to Necas McKinnon. But from past experience, I'll say he goes back to Necas and McKinnon. He wasn't unhappy last game and often mixes things up at the end of the game to try and spark something. So history says he'll go back to normal. So I would build around, that's why I left the charts the way they are. I would build around Necas on that top line. It'll be fairly easy to pivot to Nichushkin. Obviously, he's $1,000 cheaper than Necas. So if you need to make that swap, you'll be able to do so without any issues. Lehkonen, just $5,500 feels like a phenomenal price. Necas, 67 is fine. I really like Nichushkin still at $5,700. I like, I just like playing Nichushkin. His shot volume is great. The top power play unit exposure is great. The Flames, though, pretty good defensively, but worth mentioning that no Mikael Backlund tonight. Mikael Backlund is week to week with an injury. They also lost Connor Zary to suspension. So pretty dicey looking lineup tonight. Without Backlund, I really don't know how the matchups are going to shake out. I still have them as if Backlund's in. I don't know if they'll use Sharangovich as that matchup center. Regardless of that, I think that the Avs are in a really good spot tonight. I don't think that this matchup score does not scare me all that much. I'm still focused mainly around that top line. I'm still focused mainly around this power play, which has been really good. They do have a tough matchup tonight, but still the fifth best advantage overall. So I like the Avs. I like that top line. They're probably going to do nothing because every time I've played them recently, they suck. But they aren't seeing very much ownership tonight at all outside of McKinnon. So I'll be getting back to them without question. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'll be getting to a little bit of them here tonight. I mean, I think you kind of have to on pretty much any slate these days. They're just a dynamic line, that top line. Like it's really, they're just so good. Pretty disappointed to see them drop under 5 expected goals for per hour. Like it's really kind of making me pause a little bit and be like, man, how much of these guys do I really want to play? I'm just kidding. They're great. $21,200. I'll definitely be getting there on Colorado 1. I want Colorado 2 to be a thing, Brock. I really do. I want Nelson and Nichushkin to work. I'm going to be getting there on them again here with this second line. This is a depleted Calgary team. Like losing Backlund here for this game is kind of a big deal for them. He's a great defensive center, really their matchup specialist. And I think this Calgary lineup starts to look even uglier without him in there. So going to be interesting to see what happens here tonight. Obviously, you got Dustin Wolf getting the start here for this Calgary side of things too. He's been great this year. He's probably going to see like 30 million shots against here tonight. So it'll be curious to see kind of what shakes out. But yeah, I have no problem getting to and over the field here on Colorado 1, specifically around Netchus and Lehkonen. 5.5% ownership for Lehkonen. That's a little bit too low for me. Yeah,
I want Nelson and Nichushkin to be a thing too. They've struggled together so far. Just 2.25 expected goals for per 60. 35.5 scoring chances though. They're just not generating very many high danger looks, unfortunately. But I think they'll click eventually. Take some time, but we'll see if Nichushkin's even with him tonight. But yeah, I like Nichushkin more as a one-off play. Probably, Nelson's still very expensive, $6,700. So yeah, I'll be getting to the cheap pieces here as well. Not cheap, but cheapish. Lehkonen and Nichushkin without question. Sounds like the chat has some people. We got some chat that wants to play the Avs tonight. Do not play them because I've just put a curse on them lately. So I've had so many lineups that have just been like on the cusp with the Avs left. And it's like, okay, if the Avs just smash like they're supposed to, I'm going to win a shitload of money tonight. And then they've just flopped 2 nights in a row. So pretty disappointed. Hopefully tonight's the night. On the Flame side, they just do not score very much whatsoever. They're only averaging 2.12 expected goals for per 60, only score 1.178 or 1.78. The power play is really bad as well. I just don't think I'm going to play them very much tonight at all. Do you have any interest? They were chalk the other night. How much ownership are they drawing tonight? Still a hefty amount on Calgary 1, which in fairness, they got there. Kadri, I think, had a goal. Huberdeau had 2. I can't remember if Kadri scored, but Huberdeau had 2 for sure. But Kadri was a fine play. I think he had an assist and hit the shot bonus. So they worked out the other night. They're a little bit more expensive, I think, tonight, or at least the same price. And the matchup is much, much worse. So I probably won't get there. And I'm pretty happy to fade this chalk.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Kadri had a beautiful goal. That's right. Yes, he did. So they each had a goal, and Huberdeau had 2. So they got there for sure.
I might get to like 5% Calgary 1 here just to, in case they do pop off again, have a little bit of exposure. Don't know about the revenge narrative for Kadri. 4 goals and 10 points in 19 career games going up against the Colorado Avalanche. So hasn't been all that great against him in his career. It feels like it's a tough spot here for the Calgary Flames, to say the least. So I think for me, most of my exposure to the Flames tonight is just going to come from Dustin Wolf and hope he sees like 50 million shots.
Their offensive metrics are obviously pretty poor, and the Avs have been really, really stout defensively. So it looks like the only opportunity is really the power play, but we know that the Flames power play is not very good. So I'm probably not going to get to too much Calgary tonight at all. Okay, 5th game of the night, we got Seattle and Utah. Philip Grubauer, as I mentioned, was pretty good the other night, but not enough for Utah to be dogs in this one. They're still minus 150 road favorites, 3.4 implied totals, tied for 3rd highest with the Oilers, plus 136 home underdogs for Seattle. Boy, Utah 2 is great. Barrett Hayton and Dylan Guenther are fantastic hockey players, and their underlying metrics as of late have been just spectacular. Bear Hayton still just $5,300. Gunther's up to 7,400. They are seeing very modest ownership tonight, and I am going to be very heavy on them. They have been fantastic. The matchup is much better than the Keller line. The Keller line has been solid, but nowhere near as good as Utah 2 has been. So I'm going to be overexposed to Utah 2. Utah 1 is still seeing only 5%, so I'm going to be north of the field on them as well. I like this matchup. Philip Grubauer getting the start. I think there's a lot to like about Utah in this game. If you take a look at the team trends charts, they've been averaging 3 expected goals for per 60 at 5v5. The power play has been really, really good as well. I think it's a great spot for Utah, and they are not seeing as much ownership as they should. So I will certainly be getting to both of those top lines much higher than the field will. And I've mentioned Utah 3 a number of times recently. I still don't hate them as a kind of get different, like super low owned spot. The problem is Josh Jones up to $5,100, which feels a little gross, but Jack McBain's been solid as a value play at $2,900. If you need a cheap center, I think that he's kind of a decent one-off option in this one. Lawson Crowe's $3,800. I don't like him quite as much, but McBain at $2,900 feels okay enough if you really need a salary saver down the middle. But I love Utah 1 and 2 tonight, mostly Utah 2 though. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm going to be well over the field here on the Utah Hockey Club tonight in these top 2 lines. Yeah, they did break Doan's pricing. It's absolutely wild to see $5,100. It just makes no sense. Like, he's had good shot volume as of late, like 8 shots on goal per hour of ice time. He's only playing like 14 minutes a night though. Just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Nonetheless, top 2 lines, I'm going to be jamming them in. I mean, 5% each for these guys here makes absolutely no sense to me. I lean more towards that second line more so than the first line as well here. If you take a look at the matchups, 41% of Utah 2's ice time is going to be going up against that third line of the Seattle Kraken, whose line sets are not very good. 3.6 goals against per hour of ice time. So feels pretty ugly here for this Seattle side of things. I have no issue really loading up here on this Utah top 6. I'll probably get there a little bit on that third line as well. Feel a little less great about it because 36% of their ice time is going to be going up against Seattle too, who's done a good job of suppressing goals, but not chances and anything else like that. Granted, the third line, a little bit of a scoring heater as of late as well. So yeah, no problem loading up. I'll be well over the field here on Utah. They might be one of my favorite teams to target here on this slate as a whole. And it doesn't even feel like they're like all that affordable either, really. I mean, Utah 2, like $16,100 to full stack. You can mix them in with almost anybody on this slate. A little tougher with Utah 1 at $18,700. But again, they're grading out as the 5th and the 8th best lines to target on the slate here. So in the hockey club, we trust. Brock.
Utah 2 over their last 10 games, 3.71 expected goals for per 60 for Alex Kerfoot, 3.5 and 3.2 for Hayton and Gunther. You got to go down to 2.85 for Clayton Keller. So they've been basically 3/4 of a expected goal for per 60 better than the top line as of late. And yeah, like I'll probably have I'll have a good amount of Utah 1, but I think I'll probably be double my Utah 1 ownership on Utah 2. I really like this spot for especially Hayton and Gunther. But Kerfoot's been a solid value option as well. It's funny, actually, 2 games ago, I played him and I needed him basically to score to take down the slate, and he didn't. And then I didn't play him in the last game, and you did, and you needed him to score. I'm like, oh, don't worry, man. Like, he's a lock for a goal tonight because I needed him the other night, and he did nothing. And then he scored. So.
Classic. Yeah, the only problem was that the Montreal Canadiens absolutely fell apart in that third period against the Seattle Kraken. That was what cost me. So still bitter about that one.
Okay. On the Seattle side of things, matchups are not great. Unclear exactly how their lines are gonna shake out tonight. They put Shane Wright down on the 4th line the other night. Yanni Neiman made his NHL debut with McCann and Burakovsky. He was awesome. He had 8 shot attempts in 14 minutes. He's an absolute monster and has a terrific shot. 8 shot attempts in 14 minutes time on ice. He had 3 shots on goal and did score. He's got a great shot. He does see some power play time. They kind of have like a power play 1A and 1B. There's no really top power play unit, but Neiman with Montour, or you've got McCann and Dunn. I think I'll probably get to that second line a little bit just because McCann's the guy that I usually want to play from this team anyway. And the fact that he's got a cheapish winger. How much is he tonight? 3K, a cheapish winger on his wing. I'll definitely get to a little bit of that mini stack. 3K, so what, $8,700 to mini stack those two feels pretty good. Probably feel pretty confident comfortable, leaving Burakovsky off. But if you want to include him, there's 12,200 full stack. Neiman's seen 14.4% ownership still. So I think it's pronounced Newman actually, but I digress. Any interest on them, on Seattle? What's your plans here?
I don't know, man. I think I'll probably get to a little bit of Neiman at 3K here. 15% ownership is pretty decent. Having a great year for the Seattle, their AHL team, the Coachella Valley Thunderbirds. 26 goals and 41 points in 55 games, averaging like 2.5 shots on goal per game. So, decent player here. I'm interested. Obviously, saw some good signs last night. The rest of this lineup, I don't really think I can get there at the pricing right now. It's not like they're overly expensive or anything like that, but like, I don't know. It just feels like kind of bleak. A top line doesn't really do a whole lot on a regular basis. It feels like third line, I guess maybe a mini stack of Chandler Stevenson and Jordan Eberle. Like Stevenson's got absolute zero shot volume, but they're putting up some points through assists. So, maybe there's a route there, but I just think there's much better plays on this slate than going that way. Probably limited to Neiman in the forward group for me.
Yanni Newman and Jared McCann. Lock it up. Their power play tonight grades out the third best despite having the 27th ranked power play. The Utah Hockey Club really struggled on the PK. So back to the team trends chart here. They've been really good defensively, but really struggling on the PK still. So fire me up some Utah. Maybe a little bit of Seattle too. Game number 6, the final game of the night, of the week. We'll see you back here on Monday. Nashville, 3.5 implied total, -151 home. Road favorites, 2.8 implied total for the Ducks. Matchups in this one, number one matchup score of the night goes to Nashville 1. And it won't show up in the charts because the sample size is too small. But Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, and help me out here. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Luke Evangelista.
Luke Evangelista. There it is. On that top line together. Have played 52 minutes together thus far. 3.6 expected goals for per 60. 36 scoring chances for. They've been really, really good. And their matchup is the best on the entire slate. They will see a lot of the top 6 here for the Ducks, which, whoa, says red as red can be. So not as great as it kind of looks here in the charts, or the charts don't look as great as it's actually been. They've outplayed the Forsberg line quite a bit. One wrinkle for this game, probably doesn't matter all that much, but it could change the lines a little bit. You've got Michael Bunting projected to make his NHL debut. We have no idea what the lines are going to look like, but they've been rolling with 11-7 as of late. Imagine they go to 12-6 with Bunting back in the mix. So I don't know how much or where Bunting slots in here. Could be in the top 6, but I'm mostly focused on Stamkos, Evangelista, and O'Reilly, and then I'll probably one-off Phil Forsberg more than anything. The power play in this game, the Ducks PK has been okay, but still the 9th best power play advantage here for the Predators. You've got some salary savings here with Nick Blankenburg on the top power play unit as well. So Blankenburg pretty much fits with whoever you want, Nashville 1 or 2. I feel fine playing him with either of them. One of my favorite value blue liners on the slate. Nostal really hasn't been all that much of a wall as of late. I feel really as comfortable as you can kind of with Nashville, right? They're always a bit sketchy, but I think that we've seen enough from Steven Stamkos as of late. Those underlying metrics for that line as a whole over the last, that's probably 5 games. Really, really good. And that line is not seeing much ownership whatsoever. O'Reilly 10% at 5,600. Stamkos just 3.7% at 7,300. Evangelista just 3.5% at 4,800. 17,700 to full stack them at pretty modest ownership. I really like that line tonight. And then Forsberg's super expensive as well. So like one-offing him is going to be somewhat difficult, but I like getting to him still at $8,600. But I much prefer Nashville 1, who for us in the charts, again, ownership wise, they're like 14th highest, and we have them ranked 4th highest tonight. So really like Nashville 1 tonight. And honestly, if I could use the smaller sample size, they would probably maybe crack the top 3.
I'm scared to play Nashville, but I am going to play Nashville. It feels terrifying. They're such an up and down team this season. I think what I'm just going to do is get to like 10% Nashville 1, 10% Nashville 2, and then play like 15% Lucas Dostal somewhere else just to hedge my bets here. Dostal's been great in 3 games against the Predators in his career. 2 wins, 268 goals against average, and 932 save percentage. Earlier this year, 5-2 win for Anaheim against Nashville. 32 saves, 1 goal against for Dostal. I don't know, man. I'm a little surprised to see, things not grading out as well for that second line, considering Forsberg and Marchessault have been there. Forsberg just continuing to drive the bus offensively, 1.9 goals per hour, 12.6 shots on goal per hour over his last 20 games. Obviously a pretty expensive play at $8,600 if you want to mini stack him and Marchessault. It's gonna be costly, but I don't hate the idea of getting there that way. I'm gonna have ownership here on Nashville. I don't feel great about it, but it is the Ducks after all here. So that top six is not great defensively, so I think there's more than enough reason to get there. What's really interesting is just like how much ownership is coming in on this Anaheim Ducks side of things as well.
Yeah, just back to Nashville 2 for a second. Their matchup's still really, really good. It's just not quite as good as Nashville 1, but I'll definitely still mix them in. On the Duck side of things, a little bit bleaker kind of average matchups inside the top 6. Yeah, like the Ducks are every bit as difficult to trust as Nashville is, and they're seeing much more ownership, which is why I feel a little bit better. Like the top 3 lines in terms of ownership tonight are New York, Anaheim, and New York. That's horrifying. But again, similar to the Islanders, the Ducks are very affordable. I guess affordable-ish. Vatrano at $6,100 is cheaper than he normally is. Terry down to $5K is much cheaper than he normally is. Ryan Strome $4K. I think he's been $4K for 10 years. They're fine. I like they're a good line. They grade out 7th best for us, but I just don't like them as much as I like a lot of other lines on tonight's slate. So I probably won't get there. Sam Colangelo's out on that third line, so that they are going to take a hit, even though I still wasn't playing them anyway. I told you they were just riding a heater, so whatever. Zegras, Carlson, Terry, or Killorn, excuse me. They kind of have a little bit more of my interest just because they are super, super cheap. 13,300 to full stack. Like I might play them a little bit. They're seeing a lot less ownership. They've been fine as of late. So I might get to Anaheim 2 a little bit more than Anaheim 1 just because the salary relief is a little bit greater. But I don't have that much interest in the Ducks overall tonight. And I'm happy to let that chalk flop, hopefully. So, yeah. Just really quickly, Hal says, I thought Bunting was out for tonight's game. Could be wrong. He's a game time decision. We don't know if he's playing for sure. They just said there's a possibility that he makes his debut tonight. Very good chance that he doesn't, but there's the possibility that he plays. So, own percentage makes no sense. People started St. Patty's celebrating early. It's a wild night for sure. Thoughts on the Ducks, Zach?
They're a professional hockey league team. I don't know. I don't got a whole lot of interest here either. Like I think I'll get there, maybe 10% on that top line. That'll probably be it for me. Vatrano's the guy that I definitely would want to build around if I'm playing anybody from that line. 1.5 goals per hour over his last 20, 10.4 shots on goal. Terry and Stroh, like Terry's shot volume has completely evaporated. He's not scoring a whole lot here as of late either. Generating, 0.9 individual expected goals, which is a fine mark, I suppose. But it does feel pretty tough here for this Ducks top line. I mean, I just don't know how they get there. Like that's kind of the thing for me, man. Like I continue to mix them into my lineups and I feel like I'm always left wanting more from them. I think some of the defensemen are fine plays from the Ducks side of things tonight. Like I'm good with playing some Jackson Lacombe. I mean, he's grading out really well. His salary's come down to $4,300 as well. Olin Zellweger, you can probably talk me into a little bit of him as well. Up there on that top power play unit. Not that it's very good or anything like that. Feels like an okay enough play though. I don't know.
It's not very good. In fact, it's bad. They also split kind of power play 1A, 1B. Speaking of the defenseman, though, Jackson Lacombe is projected to be the highest owned defenseman of the night. So I still like our boy Jackson Lacombe, who's come down to $4,300. Really nice value there. The Opto Bros locking Mick Mac. So it's just jamming in New York, Anaheim value, which makes sense, right? McDavid and McKinnon are a great plays tonight. And there's not a whole lot of top end value outside of the Ducks and the Islanders. But yeah, the ownership is horrifying. Okay, let's get to some defensemen. We'll move on. Jackson Lacombe, highest value defenseman on the slate, highest projected owned. Makes sense. Vince Dunn, I don't love Seattle tonight, but I still like his price tag at $5,100. You mentioned Darnell Nurse, $4,600, really good price tag. Shane Gostisbehere against the Red Wings, I think is fine. The Red Wings penalty kills awful. Adam Pelech projects 20 minutes at $3,100. I think that's okay. You mentioned Wallman. The shot volume has been good there for him. Bouchard, Nurse. Some of the cheaper options, Nick Blankenberg, you're probably also going to see a little bit more usage for Dylan Sandberg with Neil Pionk out. You're definitely going to see more usage for a guy like Luke Shen. You're also going to see more usage for a guy like Colin Miller on the power play unit, but Luke Shen's probably the biggest beneficiary of the Neil Pionk injury. He's $2,700. Has the opportunity to hit the shot block bonus tonight. That's probably the extent of it for him. Who are the really cheap defensemen that are going to know well? So we got Pelech, Blankenberg, Mark Del Gaizo, Ian Cole. He's always a popular play. He fits well with, I think it is Utah 1 and 3 more than Utah 2. Utah 2 is more like Michael Kesselring, who's also a really good option at $2,800. Also, Oli Mata at $3K pairs well with them. Any defenseman that I didn't name that you would like to talk about, Zach?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. Like Blankenberg looks like a great play. I'm fine with Michael Kesselring. Guy just takes a shitload of shots. 6.7 shots on goal per hour of ice time at $2,800. I like that as a play here tonight. Oilers defense would look pretty good. Lacombe looks good. Dobson looks good. I think that pretty much covers it.
I think the only guy we didn't really mention was Mikhail Sergachev. We love the Utah Hockey Club tonight at $5,600. I think Sergachev makes a lot of sense there as well. Excuse me. Between the pipes, Frederik Andersen against my Detroit Red Wings projects as the best goalie of the night. He's been playing really well as of late. 72.2 implied win percentage is the highest on the slate. I don't think I'll get there, but I mean, the Red Wings have shown the ability to rack up shots against bad teams. I just don't know if that's going to happen against the Hurricanes. Hanley from Calgary, you liked him the other night. You going back to Hanley tonight?
Yeah, great block volume from him. Let's see if I can find it here really quickly. Over his last 20 games, 7.2 blocks per hour of ice time. Plays like 19-20 minutes a night. I think he's a great play for a guy if you're hunting for a block bonus.
There we go. My favorite goalie play of the night is probably between Scott Wedgwood and Karel Vejmelka. I think the Flames are going to struggle to score here tonight. I like Wedgwood. I'm a little bit nervous about his shot volume, though. Vejmelka feels like he's going to see a little bit more volume. I like him. I don't mind UC Saros to be a bit of a chalk buster if Anaheim is going to be that popular, but he's always a little sketchy. But he's had some big games. He's just been super inconsistent this year. I don't mind getting there at all. But these cheap goalies really feel tough to get to tonight. The way that the Oilers have played, we talked about some of these massive games that Sorokin's had. I don't think he's a horrific play. He's seeing 9.4% ownership. The field feels pretty similarly. Dustin Wolf, as you've mentioned multiple times, should see 5 million shots, or was it 500 million?
500 million, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of volume. He should be there. $6,800, Peter Mrazek. If the Red Wings can pull it out, he's going to see probably the most volume on the slate at $6,800. If you need to go dumpster diving, I suppose. But honestly, I'm probably going to spend up more than anything tonight. I like Connor Hellebuck. I like Karel Vejmelka. I like Scott Wedgwood as probably my 3 favorites tonight. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think I like paying up a little bit more here tonight. Like Freddie Anderson looks great. Scott Wedgwood, I'm interested in playing him. You can talk me to some Vejmelka for sure. Ottinger could be an okay play. Like Connor Hellebuck, 15% ownership. I don't know how much I love that, but I'll probably have him in the mix as well. Freddie Anderson, just 7% ownership tonight. I get it. He's $8,400, but Detroit just cannot seem to score against Carolina. So I don't think he's a terrible play either.
All right, let's get to today's giveaway. We've got 21 entries into today's $50 Nation Gear gift card giveaway. So let's get to that before our hat trick pick challenge.
Oh.
Shout out Lingual Love. Congratulations on winning a $50 gift card to nationgear.ca. You can pick up some daily Faceoff swag with that. So yeah, reach out to me on, I guess, Twitter's probably the best place to reach me if you're there, or join the DFO DFS Discord. That's always a good way to get to me as well. So we'll get you hooked up with that $50 gift card. You can reach me at Brock_Seguin on Twitter or X, or at DFO Fantasy if you want to reach out to the Daily Face Off. We'll get you hooked up there with $50 gift card to Nation Gear. So congratulations. We do not have a Daily Face Off head-to-head tonight. I was supposed to build mine as we went along on today's show, and boy, did I not have enough time. So unfortunately, that We're not going to have one today. But hat trick pick challenge. I won yesterday's head to head, so it's now 38 and 36 on the season. I got another 2-game lead on Zach. I get to go first in the hat trick pick challenge today. If you want to participate in today's hat trick pick challenge, you can do so by commenting your hat trick pick in the comment section of the video on YouTube, not the live chat. If your player scores a hat trick, we get you a $25 gift card to Nation Gear. If nobody picks the hat trick score tonight, we will just raffle it off to anybody who submitted a hat trick pick. So if somebody scores, nobody picks them, we'll give it away anyway. We've already done that once this week. Speaking of which, the name escapes me at the moment, but they have not reached out to me yet. If you're watching today, make sure you reach out to me. We'll get you hooked up with that gift card as well. So, okay. I'm going to pick Dylan Gunther again. Worked fairly well the other night. He scored a goal, but didn't get there. He's going to get there tonight. This is great, actually. You're going to love this one. Ob's the guy. Where did it go? The guy that's winning the head-to-head didn't have time to build his lineup. The season's going to end 38-36 at this rate. I'm sorry, Zach. How about this? I'll build one as soon as we're done the show. I'll send it to you. We'll still have the head-to-head so that, I can't do that the rest of the season.
Perfect. Technically, we were really both losers yesterday because our lineups were absolutely awful, embarrassingly bad.
In fairness, I legitimately said this lineup might score 44 points.
It scored a few more than that.
Yeah, it was a little bit higher, and it was a charts play. Like Minnesota won as the top line to target last night, went exactly as I expected it to.
Yeah, we really should have known better there. What can you do though? My hat trick pick winner, I'm gonna go with Leon Draisaitl.
There you go. Who's your favorite stack tonight? I'm gonna say kind of including the price tag. I'm gonna say Utah too.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. They look awesome tonight.
You came out second in the $1, Zach, on the late slate, so not a total loss. Yeah, I took down, what was it, the $5 single entry on the late slate, and I didn't play that lineup in the $15, which would have won $1,000. I played the wrong one. Yeah. Anyways, this is what it is. Comment your hat trick pick in the comment section of the video on YouTube. While you're there, you can go to the link in the description and get $20 off your first month of Roto-Grinders Premium. Shout out to them for providing projected ownership for today's show. If you want to get $20 off, it's in the description. Click the link. Also in the description is the link to our DFO DFS Discord. Join the community. It's growing every single day. We chat DFS all day long. We provide all the late breaking news and warm-ups, lineup changes, all that good stuff so you don't have any holes in your lineup. Join the Discord today. And that's going to do it for this edition of the DFO DFS Report. It's Friday, so we will not see you back here until Monday. There are no charts on the weekend. So if you're new to the charts, there are no charts on the weekend that in terms of the Google Sheets, but there are charts that are automated on the website. They are very similar to the charts that you see today. So you got today's games. You got the line stacker rankings, which look pretty similar to what we have in the charts. So you'll see, there'll be a little bit of difference. They're automated, so some of the samples are a little bit different. But we've got the matchup scores, all in there. We've got the line stats, we've got the projections, we've got the goalies. It's all there for 100% free. Those will be available to you on the weekend. You can go get to them there. We've got Frederik Andersen, Scott Wedgwood, Connor Hellebuyck is the top 3 goalies tonight. Smash them in your lamps. See you guys back here on Monday. Till then, cheers.